my name's Christina and you're watching Proud Book Lion, and today I'm doing 3 things to talk about libraries. If you've watched my video where I talk about my bookish goal of this year, you already know that one of my goals was to read more books from the library, and I've actually done pretty well on that challenge. I read a lot of books, especially from my school library, but now I just wanted to talk about 3 kind of generic things when it comes to libraries that I think we need to acknowledge more, especially in this community. So, number 1, it's free! It's totally amazing that libraries are free. At least all libraries in Sweden are free. I know that you have to pay if you actually lose your library card, but apart from that, there's no expenses. I'm not sure how it is in other countries. I believe that in some countries you have to pay to actually get a library card, but usually, or almost in all cases, to actually pay for having a library card is way cheaper than buying the books that you want to read. So therefore, libraries are super important and super awesome because they enable all humans, regardless of their income, to read the books that they want to. I mean, even if you don't particularly love reading, or if you don't love reading fiction, you're usually able to find another book on a topic that's interesting for you, and you can read that at the library. Usually they have magazines and like other things that you can borrow as well. They're super duper great, and even if you don't love fiction, reading fiction books has shown to improve one's ability to read faster and comprehend more. So even reading fiction books that you don't really love does enable you to perform better in school or at work. So reading overall is super duper important, not only to get other perspectives, but when it comes to actually your ability to read and comprehend other texts as well, not only fictional ones, not only novels. So it's super duper great that all humans have the ability to do this, because especially I know that at least in Sweden it's shown that usually the children that have richer parents perform better in school just because they have been read to and they have had the ability to read, because they usually are gifted books for Christmas, etc. And when it comes to parents that do not have a huge income, they usually do not buy books for their children, and that's totally okay. But that's why it's so important that we have a library that offers all children, regardless of their parents' income, the same ability and possibility to read, and therefore they're able to perform just as well in school. And that's super duper important because we don't want differences between the classes to increase, we want them to diminish. Sadly, they're not diminishing at the moment, but I think it's super duper important to keep the libraries, because I think the actual difference between the classes would increase even more if we did not have the library, because the library is super duper important, not only for students that have nowhere else to sit and study. They're not only important for the employee that wants to improve his ability to read, or rather improve their ability to read and comprehend faster, and it's important for the child that wants to see himself represented in literature and does not have the ability to actually get a book from their parents. So overall, the library has a lot of functions, but the fact that it's free is one of the most important pillars that the library stands on, because it offers the same possibilities to everybody. Thing number 2 I want to talk about is location. So as I said, I have 3 libraries that I use on a yearly basis, I would say. I have my school's library, I have my town library, and I have my school's town library. I have the library cards for my school town and for my hometown. During school, I usually use my school library, and then during the weekends/holidays, I use either my home or my school's hometown library. It goes both ways. But I think it's super duper important because I talked earlier about how one of the most important reasons to why libraries need to exist and why they are awesome is that it's free. And I think it's really important to remember that not all towns have a library, especially not if you live in a rural area. And therefore, actually going to a library to actually borrow books can be a huge expense for some people. And therefore, on Twitter, when somebody says, "I haven't been able to read this book," you can't just say, "Well, go to the library." Because for some people, going to the library means driving for 2 hours. You do not know how close somebody has to a library. And the fact is that a lot of libraries are actually closing down because people aren't using them enough. So it's really important to use your library if you have the ability and possibility to do so. but you cannot assume that everybody has the same possibilities as you have. So thing number 3 that I want to talk about is what they offer. So not only by saying, why don't you go to the library, you're not only implying that they have a library close to them that they're able to do, you're also assuming that this library has the specific book that you're talking about. And they don't. I don't know where this, like, I think it's a prejudice, or it's just something that you assume when you have so much privilege that you have not had to think about, does my library has this book or not? Because not all libraries have all books, especially not new releases. I live in Sweden. A lot of people live in different areas of the world and in different countries of the world. And usually we don't get new releases in English when they are released in England or in America, which is understandable. But can Twitter people please understand this as well? I know that we're living in a globalized world. We are. I can usually get a book within 2 or 3 weeks of release date. Libraries usually take a bit of a longer time. Usually, if you live in another country, your library mainly has books in whatever language your country speaks. So for me, that is Swedish. My English section is very limited, and I usually have to ask my library to buy in the books that I want to read. Luckily, my libraries are doing very well, and they're able to buy a lot of books for me specifically, but not all libraries are, and therefore, for you to assume that my library, that I luckily have the possibility to go, has that book isn't really kind of you to do, because usually they don't have the books that I want to read, which sucks, but in some ways they have actually made me read books that I wouldn't have otherwise, and I really loved some of those books, so that's great. But just think of the fact that not all libraries have all books. Especially as we talk about different countries. Some countries do not allow homosexuality. For some countries, to be homosexual is a crime, which it obviously isn't, but for some countries that is the law, which means that they don't have the LGBTQIP plus book that you're raving about. They will never have that book. So for you to say to somebody that perhaps is a queer individual in that country, well, go to the library, that's not a possibility for them. And for you not to have respect and to have the knowledge, or not even knowledge, but to be thoughtful before you tweet, to actually, because not all people have the possibility to read what they want to, and not all countries allow even books to be in libraries. There's different books all over the world that are banned for all different kinds of reasons. That means that some libraries in some countries will never have certain books. It also means that in other countries they don't have those books as of now because of their current government. It just means that not all libraries have all the same books, and they definitely do not have even close of a portion of all the books that are being raved about on Twitter as of now. They don't. It's not super great for the human that only uses the library, but that's just how it is. And hopefully they have as awesome libraries as I have, so that they can ask the people working at the library, the librarians, to order the books for them. But not all people have that possibility, so just be kind and remember that what libraries offer are not all books in the entire universe. They usually only offer a small portion of books, and therefore libraries are awesome, but they are not universal. They do not cover everybody's both needs and wants, and it's not something that you can say as an excuse every time somebody complains about not being able to read a certain book. Perhaps just like jump off your pedestal and come to some kind of insight that we are different, we live different lives, and even if libraries are awesome and you should definitely support your library if you're able to, please go do that. We need them in this world. But they are not a solution for everybody to read a certain book. So yeah, that was it. I'm sorry for ranting. If you love any of your libraries that you use, please let me know down below. Or if you have any opinions about what I just talked about, please let me know. I really truly appreciate the fact that you watched this, and I just would want to thank you for your support, and I do hope that you have a great day / night / whatever part is for you. Bye!